Louis?
Smile 2 is a brand new film from director Parker Finn and the follow-up sequel to the well-received first film, Smile. And I want to say that I am a massive fan of that film. 2022 had Talk to Me, Barbarian, as well as Smile, and I think Smile is my favorite out of those three. So when I heard they were making a sequel, I was extremely excited, and then we saw this trailer and we saw that it was about a pop star, and that idea alone is worth the price of admission. We saw what happens in the first film, and so then when you put that in this atmosphere, you'd imagine things get pretty crazy, and yes, they absolutely do. I have now seen this movie, and there's a lot to talk about. So that's what we're doing today. This is going to be my spoiler-free review of Smile 2, so make sure you smash like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and remember to smile. But Smile 2, about to embark on a new world tour, global pop sensation Skye Riley begins experiencing increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and pressures of fame, she must confront her dark past before her life spirals out of control. And when thinking about the first movie, the one thing that is very clear to me is it's extremely rewatchable. And I love that with horror. Don't get me wrong, I love movies like Hereditary or The Babadook. But there's something to be said and cherished about franchises like Scream or Nightmare on Elm Street. They're franchisable, if that's even a word, and you get the feeling that they could just keep going forever and ever. And I get that same feeling with Smile. It has this kind of slasher vibe, but with this entity that's elusive and more of a presence than a straight up villain. I'll use those same franchises as an example. It's like, it's got the vibe of Ghostface, but with the psychological horror feel of Freddy. And the first one sets the tone, and then the sequel shows just how far they can go. And really walking out of the theater, and this is kind of rare for me, like, I had that feeling where I felt kind of obsessed. Like, God, just give me more of this now, please. Because this sequel has now done, one, it's stamped this thing as a franchise, and two, it's shown what we're really playing with here. The sequel takes the best parts of Smile and shoots them through the roof, all the while staying true to its foundation and its uniqueness. The jump scares, I would say, are even more bold. It was constantly scaring the hell out of me, and that also ties into the gore. Like, the gore is wild. I honestly didn't expect them to go as far as they did sometimes, but also something else that surprised me was there's a lot of humor. And that's one thing that I'm kind of on the edge about, whether it's a positive or a negative. I feel like some rewatches are in order just for that specific thing, because I don't know if the humor was maybe a little bit much. I did find myself rolling my eyes at a couple points, but I think these films are very situational, you know? And where the last movie had this very eerie quality about it, where this one is taking place, I think it calls for a bit more humor. That's just the realism in it. That's actually what would be happening. But as for the characters, there's really only one that you need to talk about, and it is Skye Riley. This freaking incredible main character. Naomi Scott is our lead here, and she plays this pop sensation with a bit of a bad girl history. And I do find it funny how two horror films this year have this pop star right in the middle of it. You have Trap, and you have this. One big shout out is they both have pretty damn good music, but I kind of found myself wondering, and if you know the history here, if this was like an Empty Man and Hereditary type situation where one of them sees the other movie come out before it and they realize there's some similarities there and they're like, dang it. But really, that's the only similarity between the two. These are very different stories. And compared to Lady Raven, Skye Riley has a whole bunch of stuff going on. If you've seen the first film, you'll know that this thing, this monster, this entity, it tends to latch on to people who have some sort of trauma. And with Skye's personal trauma, the performance that she has to give here is absolutely insane. There's some deeply layered stuff going on here, and I really appreciated that. There's also a whole nother layer to the trauma aspect of this film, but I'm not going to talk about that. I don't want to dive into it because it's kind of like borderline spoilers, and I don't want to get into that territory, but there is something going on with her character that is just heavy. She's dealing with some very heavy stuff, and Naomi Scott, she knocks it out of the park. I also think, and you'll probably be able to tell this when you see the movie, like, you can clearly get this vibe that it's just overall a big step up visually. And I'm sure a lot of that is just bigger budget, so you have grander set pieces, but I also think the city of New York has a lot to do with it. There were definitely some Nia DaCosta Candyman-esque visuals going on. Also, maybe some of the flashback sequences felt a little Flanagan as well. Hill Housey or Bly Manor-y. There was a lot of modern horror camera movements mixed with some old school type stuff, and it feels like Parker kind of just took that natural evolution, that next step up. And it makes me really hope that there is a third one, because I just want to continue to see him evolve as a filmmaker, and I want to see him do so in this world. world so that this story can evolve. Because, you know, this entity, it hops from one person to the next, and the last movie does have a connection to this one. It's all existing in the same world here. It's not just new characters, new story. There are strings attached that I think everybody can appreciate. And the smile monster in this is so much trickier. Like, there's the psychological aspect that's really explored, very much like the first one, but even more so here. Like, you're constantly second guessing everything that's happening. And I will say this, and I completely mean it, it has the best twist in a horror film that I've seen this year, bar none. The last 15 minutes of this film are crazy. Aesthetically, from this film, you get everything you're hoping for. A lot of the same type stuff from the first film, but you also have many, many, many more smiles than you could ever possibly handle. And sitting here on the other side and just having a little bit of time to think about it, I really feel like this film was better than I could have hoped for. Smile is now a franchise, which is so cool and badass, and I'm obsessed. Again, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with Smile. But my friends, as always, I have to give my Jones Vibes star rating of the film, and I am giving Smile 2 4.5 out of 5 stars, no doubt in my mind. But are you guys gonna go see this film? Have you already seen this film? Please let me know all of your thoughts on Smile 2 down below. Feel free to ask questions, leave your opinions, and also just let me know what you think about the Smile franchise in general. Also, make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. That helps my channel, and I'd greatly appreciate it. Hit subscribe, and keep up the good vibes, my friends. Peace!